Hi, this is Dana, and in this video, I'm trying to sum up the concept of war in current situation. We are talking about, as I said in the previous video, we are talking about a war. The 3D essentially is a war area. It's a combat zone, and everyone from God's lineage as divine beings incarnated into 3D specifically to fight this war. The war is led between God's lineage and other races from outer cosmos, which created the 3D. Okay. Um, Essentially, I explained. We talk about different type of organizations, secret societies, the Matrix, satanic cults, and other type of secret societies which have been created in order to bring together this illusion of 3D, this creation, artificial creation, deception, and so on. Now, this resulted in a transformation. I'm sorry. Somebody's not happy with me saying this. This resulted in the creation of illegal practices and organizations within the astral. So we have new structures in astral. We have new rules, illegal rules and practices according to astral laws. Essentially, they are just breaking the astral rules, and they created some sort of narratives which explain these things. They have structures for judgment and punishment, which is completely fake creation based on fake declarations, essentially just to um, build sort of a case, a cover up case for the frauds, them stealing identities, rights, ranking, and so on from God's lineage. Now, what happens in this picture is that the divine beings, God's lineage, were absent and unaware of all of this because of what I explained in the previous video. Because in very young childhood they have been abducted and they went through very dramatic and traumatic experiences of rituals and sacrifice rituals and so on created on them. At this point in time, ascension already took a turn with the situational karmic cycle, which ended at the end of last year. And we are in a phase where essentially people have to make choices, right? Enough energy upgrades have been created by God in order for people to figure out what's going on around. Enough of us are working for years and doing spiritual fighting to break these bondages, to bring the truth, the divine truth to light, and to fight against all of this fake creation, all of this illusion of 3D. The process of judgment and divine judgment and punishment uh, takes place 2 times a year, of course, when the karmic board meeting takes place. Now, the last one in December has been extremely relevant as it produced a shift in the energy and sort of setting the record straight, right? We are now in the position to show up for this fight, to shake off these bondages, to break these bondages, and to stay in the spiritual fighting, to carry on the warfare, to break the bondages, and to force these outer cosmos forces to leave the earth. Um, Now, what happens in this situation? Of course, we are now supposed to get together the army of God, the divine beings, God's lineage, in order um, to have more impact in this spiritual fighting. So it's the community building type of phase of the ascension, where more of us have to come together. Some of us in form of couple, some of us in form of communities, and so on. Now, this is very important because, as I said previously, when two individuals from the same lineage, from God's lineage, come together, only by sitting in the same room or keeping in touch with each other, they have the same energy, they have a common lineage, and that is in itself a healing. In itself, just not doing anything, just being in the same room. This is why communities have to come together. Individuals have different gifts, and working together with the gifts, um, we are all supposed to be complementary to each other so we can produce a greater good. Now, in this process, a very important role is played by what we are used to call karmics. And these are the individuals who are the result of crossbreeding. They, one way or another, were trapped, were tricked, or they made their own choices out of. I asked God actually once, why? I just want to know why, because for some of them, you showed me how they were tricked, but even so, you gave them enough opportunities to figure out why they choose this to fight against God, against divine beings. And God showed me that some of them simply are just very young souls, and essentially they have to learn lessons. They don't have the strength, um, to fight for their values and so on. Of course, to this is added the programming dimension, but in many cases God showed me that it was their own free will choice, although they had opportunities to change it. No, they chose the darkness still, out of envy, out of greed, out of these are character traits which need to be corrected. And this is why God is doing judgment and punishment. This is why redemption is there. Now, of course, the ideal situation is to get everyone from God's lineage together, cleaned, purified, redeemed, and fighting against other races, right? But that, of course, is again a subject to free will choices of those individuals who we are used to call karmics. And some of them, I have to say this, some of them um, became karmics by their free will choices as grown ups, but some of them became karmics through birth, as their children resulted from crossbreed um, unions, from individuals from God's lineage who chose to be in a karmic couple with somebody from other race. Either that they were tricked, either that they just simply indulged in themselves in addictions and so on. That's a different discussion, and it's different situation from case to case. But some are children who are born into these families. Now, children born into crossbreed families or couples do not receive a soul from God. Why? Because that is not a child conceived with God. It's a crossbreed. It's created with a different race, which, by the way, which race is at war with God's lineage. So of course God cannot give a soul to that being. No matter how much God loves children or humans, He will never give a soul to be under the authority of another race. I think it's natural. They are not. They were. That was not a blessed union. And then the child cannot receive a soul from God, from the lineage. That this is why, again, I underline, you have to be very careful when you make your choice who you decide to be in a couple with, because you can lose many opportunities, and you can get trapped yourself in a crossbreed couple. And from that point forward, life becomes very complicated, as the children you create will, on one hand, will not have a chance to have a soul. But even if God gives them a soul in time for temporary embodiment, that child can lose the soul because your partner is from a different race, and because your partner has authority over the child. So this is very important. But again, to underline, the karmics play a very important role. And as we went through this judgment and punishment at the end of last year, uh, again, I underline there is a path for all of them to go through purgatory, which essentially is purification, and to redeem themselves, to receive a soul from God, for temporary embodiment if they cannot hold that soul for a permanent timing. But even for a temporary embodiment, that still is a process for them. It's a very long process, and it depends from case to case. I have actually investigated many cases of karmics, either in my personal spiritual fighting, or in other cases which I was called to investigate or to help. And I can tell you that it's very complicated pattern, and it depends a lot on their free will, and it takes time. It takes time. Now, God has patience and God has time with them to do redemption, to help them, and so on. But God will never, you know, God will always make sure that they learn the lessons before they move to the next phase. So that takes time, essentially, because they have dark entities attached to them, dark entities which have claimed them. This is a very intense spiritual fighting. I speak this from experience. And God will not allow for them to move to the next phase until they get rid of whatever entity they're fighting in that specific timing. And I tell you from experience, sometimes with some dark forces, essentially, you have to keep fighting, but there is a specific timeline when you can get rid of that entity, no matter how much you fight. So the purpose for you is to keep the spiritual fighting, to still be fighting with that entity when you reach the time of its extermination. Some entities, essentially, you cannot cast out. You cast them out, they come back. You cast them out, they come back, because there is a bondage, because there is, so it's very complicated process, essentially. And you have to keep on fighting, and there is a specific timeline when those entities, or there is a certain number of times when you have to cast that out, so it will disappear. So it's a process, essentially. This is why I advise everyone to pay much attention when you choose to accept back karmics into your lives, for the simple fact that the process that they have to go through during redemption, it's strenuous. It's extremely strenuous, complicated. It's a lot of spiritual fighting. Usually they go back and forth in this fighting. They give up. They don't keep fighting continuously. Then God will adjust and will punish them again until they decide to come to do redemption again. So I said this in my prophetic writings. We cannot all graduate at the same time. That is a fact that we all have to accept. And everybody will graduate depending on how much effort they put and how determined they were to keep on fighting and not give up. Now, what does it mean to get God's army in 3D? It's us, the divine beings fighting, and whoever from the karmics graduates from redemption. God is doing this, and I've been always amazed by how much patience God has with them, and He literally treats them each and every single time like that was the first time God would interact with them. I swear to you, it is absolutely shocking. It's like after one of them would fail, I was asking why, and God would show me that individual did this in so many lifetimes, and he betrayed so much worse than that. So what I was saying was not the worst that he could do. Actually, he was doing much worse than that, you know. And I was like, yeah, but you when you told me to give a chance to that individual, you didn't show me all of this. And God said, you have to believe in them, because the strength of your belief sends light to that individual. So this is why I didn't show you what they did in previous lifetimes. So you will believe in them, because you believing in them even for like 5 minutes, a week, a month, doesn't matter. That gives them strength. And we all have to give them um, a chance, an honest chance, every time when we decide to give them, when they qualify to receive a chance. But again, God works a lot with the karmics. So whoever from karmics graduates will join the 3D. We join God's army in 3D and start fighting next to the divine beings who have been fighting so far. Of course, there is also the 5D support of ancestors, lineage, as chanted masters, and different alliances that we have with other outer cosmos forces, which are on God's lineage in this war. But in this entire process of getting together God's army, and this is the year when we have to get together God's army. Essentially, all of us who graduate, who decide to fight, and who qualifies to get together. Clearly, you have to make sure that you get together with the right people, because if you get together with the karmics which didn't graduate, they only will drag you down if they didn't learn the lesson. So I'm not talking about accepting any transfer of karma or accepting any karmics in your life. But what I'm talking about is that couple creation between man and a woman is one way to bring together this army of God. Um, but again, as I keep saying, you have to work with God, because this is a spiritual purpose that you have as a couple, and this is a spiritual fight in God's lineage, fighting other races in 3D. This is a war, so you have to understand. You have to work with God in making sure that you make the right choice, and you create a couple with the right person. I personally am not willing, and I said that in previous videos, to accept back any karmics from my past, simply because I believe that it is very difficult after they have done a lot of harm to you to simply erase that um, and just pretend nothing happened. I think the only healthy way is for them to mind their own business and do their own redemption with God, and right all the wrongs they've done. In my experience, they're not willing to right the wrongs they've done. But although I'm not willing to accept any kind of karmics back into my life, uh, it took me many years of spiritual fighting. I want to give you this example. It took me many years of spiritual fighting to break a bondage which has been multiplied, and many individuals were sent into my life in different circumstances, as potential partners, as neighbors, as colleagues at work, and so on. And some of them as simply acquaintances. And I had to break bondages with all of them in order to to close up the situational karmic cycle in December last year. That meant essentially my graduation. I finished breaking the bondage and generational curses. And this is how I got to meet the original individual from God's lineage, from my own race, which was supposed to be my partner, and whom they kept copycatting, making copycats through these individuals who were karmics. So, you see, this is a process, and you learn about all of this in time. You discover all of this. I didn't know about this individual a year ago. I didn't know about his existence. I was fighting to break all the bondage. That was my purpose. I didn't understand why I'm fighting. And only when I finished, like 1 month before the karmic board meeting in December, God showed me this individual, whom in 3D material existence I didn't even meet yet, but whom is actually the original um, individual with whom I was supposed to be in a couple, in order for to achieve our spiritual purpose uh, in um, in um, in this world. So this is why I say, I think everyone should keep doing bondage breaking and working with God, and seek guidance from God, because much of it is hidden bondage. Um, this individual that I'm mentioning, um, we crossed paths. God showed me when I was 3 years old. We encountered each other in one of those camps, which I mentioned in the videos about child abduction. But we were separated since I was 3 years old, or something, 3 years old, I think, or 4 years old, something like this. So I didn't remember him. Um, God showed me. So I actually, in my adult life, I learned about him only few months ago, and he was supposed to be my spiritual partner uh, in a couple, so we can join this war in 3D. But what they did was they separated us, and they made numerous copycats, and stealing his identity, his ranking, and his divine rights, in order to specifically, because we are too strong together. This is why they separated us, and this is why they created so many copycats, which they were planted in my life, and they made numerous copycats of me, which were planted in his life. And mind you, we didn't live so far. We were not brought up in the same country. We were separated in totally different countries. Okay, so I found him now. Um, so we can carry on the spiritual purpose of in this spiritual fighting, but only when I finished the bondage breaking. And as I showed you this example, so you'll understand that many times you are so focused on getting together in a couple, and you keep focusing on who to choose from the people you know, when in reality, in the current situation, your true divine partner, you didn't meet him yet. So you shouldn't rush to choose to receive somebody in your life from your past experiences, because it might be that your true divine partner, um, by doing that, if you do that, because you have free will and you can do that, but if you do it, what you miss is the opportunity to actually meet your true divine partner, and you're simply opening a new karmic cycle with those individuals. They will transfer the karma to you. Now, of course, if that individual, who is a former karmic of yours, um, you receive divine guidance to accept him back, and has done all the spiritual fighting, and is graduating, and you are on the same level in your spiritual evolution, then um, that's your choice. I don't tell anyone what to do. I'm just giving examples of poor decision making, and I'm giving examples of why you shouldn't rush into decisions, why you shouldn't make poor decisions. Simply because I gave you this example, in my case, I got to actually learn about my true divine partner only when I decided, when I finished the bondage breaking, and I decided that I would stay single. I refused to receive any of them back, and the karmic cycle ended. So then God said, now that you finished this and you ended the karmic cycle, you didn't accept any of them back, let me reveal to you why this was beneficial for you. And God showed me, because your divine partner and is this person, and then he started revealing to me, started revealing to me our past lives, and how were we separated, how we met when we were both abducted as very young children, and adopted in different families in different countries and so on. Okay, I'm gonna stop here. Basically, this video has the purpose to point out that we are now in the time of creating, bringing together the army of God's lineage, which is called to actually do um, spiritual fighting right now. And what I'm talking about is in individuals on similar level of spiritual evolution and similar determination to do spiritual fighting, similar values of loyalty and so on, will come together in order to um, fight together again in this war. Now we are all called to do this war, to fight in this war. Now, unfortunately, in this phase, only some of us will actually come together in community, because the others uh, would practically just use the opportunity to create more bondages on us, to steal more identities, and so on, since they didn't graduate. So, with this being said, I'm gonna close it now. Essentially, I'm gonna close this video now. But the message is to sort of keep in mind that this is a timing when community creation is important. You should seek to find your soul lineage. You should seek to find, because this is a important year in the spiritual fighting, and this is a tremendously important timing to be capitalized as an opportunity immediately after the end of the situational karmic cycle. And the choices you make now are extremely important. And there is a high chance that your karmics will try to pull you down into opening a new karmic cycle. So the choices made now are important. And this is a time when God's army in 3D should get together, specifically those that are now in the capacity of actually fighting this war, which means that you already have done as much as possible from bondage breaking, what was created to prevent you, to block you, and to steal from you. Okay, I'm gonna end it now, really, because it's too long of a video. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel so we can spread my work, in the hope that we reach and help people that most probably are in need of this information. Thank you.